show you. Been sitting there for months and months and months and months and months.
You got to open that up all the way. What is that?
Huh?
What is that?
Dirty thing?
No. Open, pull it out. What the f? Get the f in!
Put your hands up!
It was just after 11 p.m. on July 28, 2021, in Essex, Maryland, when a simple late-night traffic stop turned into a nightmare. Officers expected routine, but what they uncovered inside that car would leave them shaken, broken, and in tears. MAR2 News Baltimore and CBS News both reported the chilling details. And once you hear what was hidden inside, you'll never forget it. The flashing lights painted the street red and blue, but nobody expected what was about to unfold. A traffic stop, routine, ordinary, nothing unusual, until a stench began creeping through the night air. The officer leaned closer, eyes narrowing, because this wasn't the smell of gasoline, nor alcohol, nor the faint trace of marijuana. This was something else, something that clung to the back of the throat like a ghost refusing to leave. He stepped back, rubbed his nose, and muttered words he'd soon regret. "That don't smell like dirty clothes." His partner froze. The driver froze. Time itself seemed to freeze. The officer didn't know it yet, but he was standing inches away from a nightmare no officer should ever have to see. Nicole Michelle Johnson sat behind the wheel, her hands trembling just enough for the flashlight beam to catch it. She smiled nervously, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She was 33, carrying more secrets than her body could bear, and tonight, they were about to spill open. Her passenger, known only as BB, fidgeted in silence, muttering prayers under her breath as if she already knew what was coming. The officers questioned Nicole about fake tags, expired registration, no license, just the kind of trouble that usually ends with paperwork, a tow truck, and a long walk home. But something in Nicole's voice, something broken, shaky, on the edge, hinted there was more here than bad paperwork. "Y'all going to see me on the news," she said. The officers thought she was joking. She wasn't. The tow truck was called, the paperwork written, but the smell would not leave. It thickened with every breath, wrapping itself around the officers like invisible hands. One of them leaned toward the trunk, eyebrows tightening. "Open it up," he said. Nicole hesitated. She begged. She pleaded. But orders are orders and the law is the law. With shaking hands, she pulled at the latch, the trunk yawning open like the mouth of a beast. Inside bags, layer upon layer of plastic bags, some torn, some crawling with insects. "What is that?" the officer asked. Nicole whispered, "Dirty blankets." But that smell, that sickening, gut-wrenching stench, told another story. A darker story. The officers didn't rush. They circled the bags like predators circling prey, every step heavier than the last. One tapped his partner on the shoulder. "Smell that," he whispered. "That don't smell like clothes." His partner nodded, jaw tight, hand instinctively drifting toward his weapon as if bracing for the unthinkable. Nicole shuffled her feet, biting her lip, glancing at BB who sat motionless, almost hollow. The bags weren't just bags. They were layers, shields, a barricade against discovery. But tonight, no barricade would hold. Slowly, carefully, a knife sliced through the first layer. The sound of plastic tearing under the blade was louder than the sirens. And underneath, more plastic. Always more plastic. With every layer cut away, the smell grew heavier, like the air itself was rotting. The officer gagged but didn't stop. "Why you got all these blankets?" he demanded. Nicole's excuse tumbled out, hotels, kids, moving from place to place. Her words clashed against the stench, collapsing in on themselves. She knew they didn't believe her. She knew the knife would keep cutting. "Keep going," another officer urged. "Cut through." The blade dug deeper, ripping into secrets Nicole thought would never be uncovered. Her knees buckled. BB closed her eyes. And still, the officers cut. Finally, the blade struck something different. A black suitcase, wedged tight, wrapped like it was never meant to be opened again. The officers' breaths caught in unison. "Pull it out," one ordered. Nicole's voice cracked. "It's just dirty clothes for my husband." But her words meant nothing now. The suitcase was heavy, too heavy, and as they dragged it out, flies scattered like sparks from a fire. Hands gloved, masks pulled tight, the officers braced themselves. "Open it," someone said. Nicole begged, but begging wouldn't stop what was about to be seen. The zipper was pulled, the case pried open, and the silence that followed felt like the world itself had stopped spinning. The scream came first, a raw, guttural sound ripped from an officer's throat, shattering the night. "Turn over! Turn over! Don't move!" Chaos erupted, hands grabbing, cuffs snapping shut. Nicole and BB were yanked to the ground, the weight of justice crashing down before they could even breathe. The officers were shouting, some gagging, some swearing, all of them shaken to the core. "Put your hands behind your back," Nicole whimpered. "It's not mine. It's not mine." But nobody was listening anymore. The horror had already spoken louder than she ever could. "Mask up! Gloves!" shouted a sergeant as he stumbled back, his face pale. "What's in there?" an officer asked, voice breaking. Another leaned in, eyes wide, stomach heaving. The truth was undeniable. The suitcase wasn't holding clothes. It wasn't holding blankets. It was holding a body. Small, fragile, still. "It's a baby," one officer whispered, and the words cracked through the air like thunder. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Grown men, hardened officers, turned away, some covering their mouths, some wiping tears, all powerless in the face of such horror. This wasn't just evidence. This was tragedy made flesh. Nicole screamed for them not to arrest BB, swearing her friend had nothing to do with it. But her words fell into the void. The officers were too busy trying not to collapse under the weight of what they'd found. Some prayed aloud. Others cursed. One officer walked away, muttering scripture under his breath, begging for strength against what his eyes had seen. The smell clung to everything, skin, hair, clothes, like a haunting they could never escape. "I need you to calm down," one officer told Nicole. But how could anyone calm down now? The scene had shifted from routine stop to nightmare crime scene in the blink of an eye. The tow truck driver was sent away, unable to witness what police had uncovered. Backup units poured in, their faces twisting as the reality hit them. "That's a kid," one whispered. "That's a 5-year-old kid." Another officer turned away, his hands shaking as he thought of his own daughter, the same age. The body was wrapped in sheets, shriveled by time, suffocated by neglect. "This has been here for weeks," an officer muttered. "Weeks, months. How long had the secret ridden around in the trunk, disguised as laundry, hidden in plain sight?" Nobody wanted to imagine the answer. At the station, Nicole rambled to herself, repeating over and over how stupid it was, how she should have never opened it, how none of this was supposed to happen. Her words spiraled into madness, guilt bleeding through every syllable. In another room, BB demanded answers, her thick accent clashing with panic. She wanted water. She wanted her rights. She wanted freedom. But the chains on her wrists told her the truth. Freedom was gone. Every word she spoke only tightened suspicion. Every breath she took carried the smell of death with it. Neither woman realized their lives had just been split into two. Before the trunk and after the trunk. Detectives arrived, their faces already hardened, but still not prepared for what they were about to process. They walked into the holding rooms, one by one, listening to Nicole's spirals, BB's protests, and the silent echoes of a child's life lost. Nicole whispered about seeing herself on the news, about punishment, about death penalties. She wasn't wrong. Her name would be remembered, her face broadcast, her actions judged by millions. BB tried to distance herself, but the shadows of the trunk tied them both together. Neither could outrun the suitcase. Neither could erase what the officers had seen. Meanwhile, back at the roadside, the body remained under watch. Officers stood guard, their faces grim, their hearts heavy. The air was thick with sorrow and disbelief. "Why?" one whispered. "Why would anyone?" But there were no answers, just silence. Just the haunting image of a small body wrapped too tight, hidden away as if the world could simply forget. They didn't forget. They couldn't. Some officers would carry the image forever, burned into their minds like a scar. This was no longer just a crime. This was trauma. This was evil. As dawn approached, both women were loaded into separate cars, driven under heavy escort to the precinct. Nicole muttered prayers and promises. BB demanded her bag, her phone, her rights. But none of it mattered anymore. The evidence was undeniable. The truth had been dragged out from under the blankets, unzipped from the suitcase, and laid bare for all to see. Every word they spoke only deepened the horror, only cemented the fact that a child had been stolen from this world in the most horrific way possible. There would be trials. There would be headlines. But nothing could undo what had already been done. The officers, though hardened, would never be the same. Some vomited in the parking lot. Some called their families just to hear their children's voices, desperate for proof that innocence still existed in the world. Others sat silently, staring at nothing, lost in the weight of what they'd witnessed. The smell lingered in their uniforms, in their hair, in their nightmares. It was more than a crime scene. It was a wound carved into the entire department, a reminder that sometimes the darkest monsters don't lurk in alleys or shadows. Sometimes, they sit right in front of you, smiling nervously behind the wheel of a car. And so, what began as flashing lights on a quiet Maryland night ended in a discovery too terrible to forget. A trunk full of secrets, a suitcase full of horror, a child's life silenced, concealed beneath layers of plastic, only to be unearthed by fate. Nicole Johnson and BB sat in custody, but the true weight of justice had only just begun to shift. Because this wasn't just a traffic stop gone wrong. This was a story that would haunt every officer, every witness, every viewer who dared to look closer. And the question that lingers long after the case file is closed remains the same. How many other trunks still carry secrets no one dares to open? The heartbreaking truth soon unraveled. The children were Joshyn Marie James, just 7 years old, and her younger brother Larry O'Neal, aged 5. They ended up in Nicole Michelle Johnson's care when their mother, struggling with her own challenges, placed trust in her sister to look after them. Over time, she sent Nicole money expressly for the children and repeatedly tried to speak with them over phone calls Nicole habitually avoided or dismissed. She cut off those connections, guarding her dark secret behind silence. In the end, investigators cleared BB, recognizing she was innocent and mentally ill. She was set free. But Nicole Michelle Johnson could not escape justice. She faced charges of first-degree child abuse resulting in death, first-degree assault, reckless endangerment, neglect, and unauthorized disposal of a body. What began as a routine traffic stop in Essex, Maryland, ended with the haunting truth that shook the nation. And the memory of that night will forever haunt the officers who opened that trunk.